Hey y'all. So, I'm coming to you here from the cemetery, actually. Um, I know it's an interesting place to film a video, but I feel like it's probably one of the best places to be right now because many people, when they're trying to get some fresh air in the midst of this whole craziness, they go to the park, which I usually do too. But the cemetery is the next best place right now because there's like nobody here. There's maybe a couple of people here that seem to have caught on to the idea of going to the cemetery to get some fresh air without having to be too close to people. But there's literally like one other person here. So I'm pretty much alone, which I really need. But today I'm coming to you because I want to talk to you about something that has been on my mind for a few days. And I feel like it's really important to touch upon this topic because I feel like it's talked about a bit, but I haven't shared my views on this topic. And this is about love and light and the many misconceptions about love and light. And this is coming from both sides. This is coming from the people that have the view of, you know, sending love and light, saying it all the time. And so basically using the term loosely. And then also the view of those who seem to are just completely against it. And I'm going to share my opinion on both of those viewpoints. And this isn't a criticism, it's just me kind of sifting through these beliefs and sharing my viewpoints on it. Okay, so when it comes to love and light, I feel like I hear this term being used often, like a lot. A lot of people say it, and I feel like it's important to really get down to what is behind this term and why it's being used so much and also seems to be used so loosely. Okay, so one of the reasons why I feel people like to use the term love and light is because it's nice. It's sweet, it's fluffy, it's just all around good. It's the good stuff. It's the good stuff that life is all about, right? So the thing that I have concern about personally is when the term love and light is used loosely and is used in such a way where it is not fully understood and fully grasped. Okay, so I feel like a lot of people are using this term love and light, but are coming from a place of not fully understanding it. So there was one day that I actually read an article, and this person was actually highly critical of using love and light or coming from the perspective of love and light. And one of the things that she said was, well, when you come from the space of love and light, it doesn't do anything for you. Like basically what this person was saying is that when you use the term love and light and you come from that space, no one is going to give it back to you. No one is going to give love and light to you all because you send it to them. And I had a bit of an issue with this perspective, and of course everyone is free to have their own perspective, but I think it's important to really get clear on this whole thing. One of the things that needs to be understood about love and light is that in the end, love is the origin. Love is the energy from which we all came. At least from what I believe, love is, from a human perspective, the way that we can understand this all-encompassing energy from which we all came. Maybe if we were truly to go back there all the way, we wouldn't be humans anymore, first of all. If we were to go all the way back there, it maybe wouldn't be love. I don't know. Maybe it would be. I don't know. It's something that I feel we can't fully understand from our human perspective. Okay? But what needs to be understood about love and light is that it's not something to be used Okay, it's not something to be used to, let's say, send on a transactional basis. And I feel that if we're coming from the space of, well, if I send love and light to you, you need to send it back, that's not the point. That's not the point of any of this. And we also need to understand that the perspective itself of, let's say, sending something out, is coming from the perspective of it's not what we are. Okay, so, and that's a very common place to be, and there's nothing wrong with it, but I think it's important that we know where we're coming from when we say we're sending something. So if we're sending love, we're sending light, we are in essence not aware of the fact that this is something that we're embodying 24/7. We may not realize it because the ego plays its tricks on us, the ego mind, but in essence, on our basic fundamental level, we are always embodying and emanating the energy of love and light on some level. It's just that sometimes we have trouble fully expressing it, like I said, because of the ego and because of the issues that we have with bringing the ego mind into what you call, I don't want to say in control, but basically where we're able to embrace the ego to the point where it doesn't control us anymore. Okay, so that's one thing we need to understand from the perspective of a lot of bugs, of this whole love and light thing, is that it's not to be used and it's not to be sent with the idea that we're going to get it back. If we're going to send anything like that, it needs to be from an unconditional perspective. It needs to come from a place where if this is something that we're sending out or we're intending to direct towards something or someone, that we're doing it just because. Just because. And it's almost like if we're going to do that, we need to do it from the perspective of, this is what you are, so I'm just reminding you of that. This is what a good portion of our reality consists of, is love and light. Now, I'm not talking about what people necessarily perceive. There's many different things that we perceive on a daily basis, and we're human and we're complex, and we have all these emotions and feelings, and so I'm not necessarily talking about that. I'm talking about when it comes to our divine nature. That's what we're composed of. So, and if divinity is within everything, then it's like we're reminding ourselves and reminding the other person or whatever situation that that is what exists as well, beyond just what we perceive through our lens on a daily basis. Okay, so we need to understand that about love and light too. Okay, and one of the other perspectives that I want to touch upon is the perspective of those who believe that love and light shouldn't be used at all, or are very critical of using the term love and light. And I actually don't have a problem with people using, saying love and light, but I also feel that we need to, like I said, we need to fully understand it. And I actually think if we do fully understand it, it's something that we're always expressing, and we don't even necessarily need to say it. Okay, just throwing that out there. But anyway, so touching upon the perspective of being hypercritical of people that use the term love and light. So there was a video that I watched where someone was like, these spiritual people, they're, saying love and light and doing this and doing that and, saying all these things. And what this person was saying, well, how can you say you're spiritual and yet you're not helping the downtrodden? You're not doing this, you're not doing that. And this is something that I hear a lot, actually, is people that say, you claim to be spiritual, but. So, that's important to touch upon, because what standard do we put on spirituality? What does it truly mean to be spiritual? I think that we have a tendency to place spirituality in a box. And when we place spirituality in a box, we also have a tendency to hold people to a certain standard. And also, if we feel that people meet our specific standard of spirituality, we place them on a pedestal. Or if we feel that we're meeting our own standard of spirituality, we can place ourselves on a pedestal, and we can actually fall into ego mentality. So, this is one thing I wanted to talk about too, is that, we have to be mindful and careful of saying things like, well, you claim to be spiritual, but you're not doing this. So, it's like, where do we draw the line with stuff like that? Where do we draw the line? And that's just a whole different box that we can open, which I'm not going to open right now. But we have to be mindful of being judgmental and critical of people that are not doing what we feel they should be doing based on our own standards of spirituality. So where do I start? When it comes to spirituality, I personally feel that spirituality is just being in tune with yourself and what it is that you want and what it is that brings you joy every moment of every day. And I don't feel that we should succumb to the pressures of other people saying, well, if you're spiritual, you need to do A, B, and C. You need to have a certain diet. You need to you need to help the poor. You need to do this. You need to do that. Now, I'm not saying that these are not all amazing and fabulous things. They are. But we also have to be in tune with our hearts and what it is that we are guided to do at every point of our lives. And if we are only helping the poor because someone else says so, if we're only helping the downtrodden because we believe that, okay, in order for me to be spiritual, this is what I need to do. And if we're only, I'll go here, if we're only meditating because people say, well, if you're spiritual, you have to meditate. If we're only vegan or vegetarian because people say, well, if you're going to be spiritual, then you need to eat like this, then it's not spiritual. We are not acknowledging our hearts, and we are not acknowledging our true expression, our truth. And we have to honor where we are, wherever it is on our journey. And maybe for some people, in order for them to honor themselves, maybe they can't help people. Maybe they need to help themselves. Maybe in order for them to honor themselves, like their personal expression, it's being creative. Maybe it is helping the downtrodden. Maybe it is doing something that's in that checklist of what makes someone spiritual. But whatever it is that we do, it needs to be in resonance with what we feel called to do, with what we feel guided to do. So let me just tell you this as a personal thing. Lately, I've been feeling called to engage in humanitarian efforts and do more things to help others. But if you asked me, let's say 5 years ago, I'm like, I don't care. I don't care about the earth, And the thing is that people would tell me over the years during my spiritual development, like, that's what you're meant to do. You're meant to be humanitarian, or you're meant to help others. You're meant to, let's say, I don't know, do like humanitarian stuff, help the planet, in terms of like the actual earth, not just people. And I'd be like, I don't care. And that's the thing. And at this point, I was still on my journey. I was awakening spiritually. So it's like, am I going to judge myself from back in the day? Because at that point, I felt like I didn't care about the earth. It may sound bad, but I'm just giving you guys an idea and my perspective, my experience. And to help you see that we can't judge those that don't meet our standard of what we feel spirituality should be. And this is where we get into the realm of, this is where we get into trouble. When we start placing people on a pedestal because they meet a certain standard, and then when these people fail to uphold that standard, we are disappointed. Like people that are, let's say, gurus or whatever. We become disappointed when they don't meet the standard, and a lot of people have fallen off that pedestal. And sorry, my nose is running. You know, a lot of people fall off that pedestal. And what are we going to say when they fall off the pedestal? Are we going to question spirituality as a whole and the whole thing? Or are we just going to be like, well, you know what? They're human. And it is a very human thing to fall into temptation, to make mistakes, to do things that we're not proud of. What are we going to do? You know, so we just have to be realistic about this whole thing. And we have to allow people to live their lives, to do what they need to do. It is not up to us to change people or to hold people to a certain standard. And we also have to understand that those standards are ours. You know, it's an individual thing. We're projecting our own thoughts and beliefs on other people. So we just have to be mindful of that, okay? And so I was trying to see if there was anything else. It really is beautiful here. I might take a picture of this tree. It has so many beautiful flowers on it. But yeah, so I think I touched upon everything. So yeah, you know, I hope this gave you some sort of perspective, but I just wanted to share my feelings on it because it's been on my mind. So I'll see you around, and I will make another video soon. Take care. Bye-bye.